Hi there, and welcome back to Fill Your Cup with Wild Geese Bookshop. I'm Kara.
And I'm Emily.
And we are here today with Loren, who is the events coordinator at the shop.
Hi.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. Like Kara said, I'm the events coordinator, and it's kind of self-explanatory, but my job is to facilitate all the details leading up to an event, before the event, planning who's coming, when they're coming, what the venue is going to be, anything and everything that makes the event happen. And then on the day of, I just kind of show up, and basically Emily and Kara do all the real work.
Not true.
Very flattering nonetheless.
2025 has been a big year for us.
It has been a huge year for us. We have had over 55 ticketed events, which is the most we've ever done, ever in the history of the shop. We had our largest event ever, which was Senlin U. 850 tickets sold, the most international tours we've ever had. So authors that don't live in the States touring in the States, and we've been stops for several of those. Emily came up with a whole new event concept this year, which was our Trope or Treat weekend. Over the course of Halloween, we did like spooky and paranormal romance themed events, and that was awesome. Emily and Kara both started full-time this year.
Yes.
So our events team went from 1 to 3, and it's an actual team now. Yay. And we had our first Read, Grow, Fly event, which was really exciting because that's a new thing this year of a charitable fund that the shop has started to try and get books into hands of people in the community. And we were able to bring an author to 2 schools in our county and gave out over 1,000 books that were fundraised for. So every kid got to go home with a book. And those are just some of the highlighted milestones. It's really been a huge year.
Absolutely. I feel like it's been crazy, especially just since coming on full time, just to see how all of the planning goes into the events. Because prior, I only would show up the day of and work the events. And even now, I feel like each event feels so different than it did even a year ago. Just in the way that it is streamlined and just the day to day of working an event. It's just so different, and I think it's just a testament to our growth and just our team, and it's fabulous.
Tiffany likes to say that we are laying new tracks for the railroad, and I feel like we've been doing that for a while. I've been with the bookshop for 4 years. I've been doing this job for about 2, and the whole time has felt like laying brand new tracks, but it's been nice in the last couple months. It finally feels like we're actually coasting on some of the tracks that we've laid. Things are always changing and growing, and publishing is never 100% consistent. Everything's always a little bit different from event to event, but in general, we've just done it enough that we're kind of getting into a good pattern, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I started in April, late April, the 28th of April. And I started the week before we had 3 international best-selling authors come, and they were back-to-back. It was a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday situation. So I was thrown into it, and lucky I worked events before I was full-time, but I didn't do any of the behind-the-scenes. I just, like Kara said, I showed up, and I typically flapped books, ran books, got the author water if they needed it, and then I also helped with the signing line or the merch table or things like that. But being able to be a part of the behind the scenes has been really fun. Definitely don't know how it operated before there was a team because it is a lot for just 3 of us to do, let alone one human, and then the poor bookshop staff members who had to drop everything they're doing to help with events.
Before you guys started, so much more was on the staff that works full time, in the bookshop, and having to balance the volume of events as it was continuing to increase for them. It was just a lot. And also, anyone who's been in the bookshop, it is beautifully organized. There is not a lot of extra space in there. So we would be getting 800 books in for a sold out Sarah Adams event, and just blinking at each other and where does this go? I guess that's another milestone of this year. We rent out a space now specifically just for event storage and event processing. It's just been a year of a ton of growth, which has been really cool to be a part of. But yeah, it's a super fun industry. People romanticize book selling a lot, and everyone's I'm just going to quit my job and open a bookstore. And there are elements that are very romantic, and there are a lot of elements that are not. I mean, it's a job like any other job, but I believe we get the best of it. Author events are so fun, and our whole job is just to like facilitate and curate human experiences where people that like the same thing get to come together and just like celebrate that. It's really incredible. It's a really great balance of creativity and also like logistics and execution, which is very fun for me. I mean, it's been amazing. So I'm excited for 2026 and to see what we can keep going.
Absolutely. This year was big for us in trying out some new types of events as well. You want to talk a little bit about what went into like planning some of those? Like, I feel like this year we really honed in on themes and making our events special and unique to us and curating like an experience.
Yes, I totally agree. And there's just such a variety of events. I mean, obviously we have events at the Art Craft, which are always incredible, 600 person crowds and authors touring from all over the world. And those are always so fun. Then we also do some more intimate events that are always really, really enjoyable. And they're authors that maybe are just starting out, like a debut event, which I personally love, or authors that are in a genre like a historical fiction. And we can really have an opportunity with those smaller events to curate things in a way that we can't always do with the large ones. Some of my favorites, I love a historical fiction event because they're so easy to theme to. So we did a tea party this year at the Indianapolis Propylaeum, which is this incredible historic home that is the location of one of the oldest women's organizations in Indiana. And the book that we were talking about when we were there, it was Madeline Martin was the author, was about a group of women who formed a secret book society in, I believe, the 1800s to educate themselves and empower themselves and grow outside of the boxes that they had been put in. And it was just like, it was the perfect location, the perfect venue. The atmosphere was incredible. And that event, I think we had to cap it like 80 just because of the size of the venue. But that lends to an ambiance that is always really special. We've done some release parties this year. We usually do those at the bookshop, so that lends to a smaller crowd. We had a writing contest this year. Emily facilitated all that and had people do submissions for spooky stories and then chose the best, and they got the chance to read them out loud at Coffee House 5. So it was kind of like poetry reading energy, but for spooky stories. Murder mystery parties, always a blast. So lots of different types of events of all different shapes and sizes. Most of the events we do have authors tied to them. Not all of them. We do pop-ups at other places. And sometimes we'll book sell for events hosted by the library, or Knit at Night was something we participated in this year, where the Knitting Otter, which is a yarn shop here in Franklin, and the Art Craft Theater and us all kind of came together and picked movies to watch with the lights up so people could craft while they're watching a movie. Some of the movies had to do with books and some of them didn't, and really we were just kind of there for the community of it. And we do stuff, constantly. There's always something going on.
Absolutely. And I think it is those smaller events for me personally that I kind of go back to. And like that tea party event we had with Madeline Martin was just absolutely like, it was so fun. And Tiffany worked with some of the local businesses to help like curate those teacups. And it made it really special because everybody got to go home with the teacup that they had from the tea party. And I think it's just like those aspects of the event and like being able to see those executed that just adds to the magic that we get to experience just like in our day-to-day jobs. It's so fun.
Yeah, no, it is so fun. Christy Cameron this year, she's a local Indian author that we work with a lot. And she wrote a historical fiction book this year about Julia Childs, inspired by the fact that Julia Childs was trained to be a spy. And the main character was a trained chef who was also a spy. And so at that event, we got to have French desserts catered, and everyone got to have a little French dessert while we talked about French cuisine and the French role in World War II. And that's just, what a fun job.
Yeah. And I feel like we kind of just never really know what we're going to get into like with an event. I feel like especially Emily and I feel like we tend to spiral, and like we have big dreams, and we try really hard to make things work and come up with just like new ways to make each event be even better than the last one. For example, if you go to any of our events at the Art Craft, you may have noticed that we got 2 movable walls that change in theme with the author that we have. It was a dream project that between Emily, Tiffany, and myself to just have something in the background to make it feel more cozy and just more inviting. And we were like,
and why not?
Yeah.
The amount of times we say, and why not? And I say we. The amount of times Emily and Kara say, and why not? And then they execute it every time. Like if you go to one of our events at the Art Craft and you see these little wall things, there's all these framed pictures on it, and they will switch them out every single event to make each picture match the vibe of the book, and like the intentionality and the time and the planning that goes into those tiny things. But it makes a difference. It sets the atmosphere for what we're trying to create. So it's intimate even when you're sitting with 600 other people.
Yes.
Yeah. These were really fun because we would call people and ask like, hey, do you have a circle saw? And they're like, why does readers engagement specialist and an event service specialist need a circle saw and a junior hacksaw, which we own?
Don't ask questions. Just don't ask questions.
And perhaps if you were walking the streets of Franklin in August, you might have seen Emily out on the sidewalk with a junior hacksaw cutting some molding on the sidewalk. You just never know what to expect when you come in. It's been really fun.
Yeah. Like one day we would be with like an international best-selling author that is amazing and a New York Times bestseller and all this stuff. And the next day we would be at Lowe's. Kara knew exactly what she was doing and I did not. But I would be the one to go up and ask the Lowe's men and women to help us. And I would be like, this is what we need. And they would look at me like I was insane because I was also holding 7-foot tall fake molding. And they're like, what are you doing with it? And I was like, we're building a backdrop. And then they didn't question it. So but it was just, it's funny. Our day to day, like Kara and I's day to day is so interesting and odd.
I just, for background, I work mostly from home, and a lot of my job is virtual, a lot of like email communication and phone calls and stuff like that. And then I'm physically present for the events, and I only really come into the event studio space every now and again. And it's like every time I come in here, there's like plywood or paint or screws, or they'll be like, oh, don't touch that, it's still wet. And I never know what's happening. And it's always just like, no, it's fine. And then at the next event, there's something beautiful and new and fun. And it's incredible. It really is. Sometimes there's a fire to put out. Sometimes there's something beautiful to create.
Yeah, 100%. And I love it.
Yeah.
This year, our events team went from a one-man show to now having 2 helpers full-time. What does that kind of look like now in comparison to what the old norm was for you?
Well, and it was never truly a one-man show because the bookshop team did so much, but also on top of their daily responsibilities. And so being able to kind of like separate those things fully makes everyone's lives so much easier. But for me, it's kind of an interesting gig, and I'm just super grateful from top to bottom. I had been working at the bookshop about 2 years, and I had my son and gone through some big life changes, and I was ready to start working again, but not 100%. I needed some balance, and Tiffany, which how many bosses say this, but Tiffany just said, well, what do you need? And I said, what I need is to be home with my son and also be with adults sometimes. And she said, okay, what I need is someone to be in charge of events communication with publicists, with venues, with planning the events behind the scenes and making sure that we know what the author's allergies are and all of those tiny details that go leading up to an event. She was like, I need someone to do that. And I think you could do most of it from home. What do you think about kind of working hybrid? And it's been amazing. Originally, because I was like, oh, that seems like it'll fit what I'm wanting in my life right now. But then it turns out I actually really love it. And then after a few months, I was like, I think that this is awesome. Like, maybe I might be good at this, and maybe this is really fun. So yeah, that's how I came to be in this job. But because I'm part-time and because that's important to me, it kind of got to the point this past winter, spring, where I had to look at Tiffany and be like, listen, I love this job. I don't think I can do what it requires anymore by myself. And I was like, I really think you need to hire someone who can do this full time. And she said, well, what if we just hire another person to work with you and you don't leave? And I was like, okay. And that's when Emily started.
Yeah. So I worked at the bookshop part-time since Water Street, which was 2020 to 2021. And then I went really part-time and then only worked events because I started a full-time job at a elementary school and then eventually a high school. And dream was to always like work at the bookshop full-time because I loved it so much. And it just never worked out until April. And I got a random text message from Tiffany that was like, would you consider working full-time as like an events something or other? Because we didn't have my title yet. And I think she fully expected me to say no. And then I didn't. And I called her and I said yes. And she was like, don't you want to know anything about it? And I said no. It was just a dream of mine. And she said events and I said yes, because my background in college was I was a wedding planning intern for someone in Italy for like 3 or 4 months over the summer. And I fell in love with event planning. Event planning is really, really difficult to get into. It is like a very sought after career and a lot of people want to do it and there's not a lot of need for it. So I came on in April and took over book ordering. So I order all the books for the events, and then the processing is just receiving the books at the studio space, checking them for damages, telling the publishing houses if we have damaged copies, and then kind of processing what that looks like for them. And then also putting them all in our inventory on Book Manager at the shop. A lot of manual labor, which I feel like people, like you mentioned earlier, Loren, a lot of people are like, oh, this is such a dreamy job. And it is. However,
you got to lift a bunch of boxes.
You have to lift a bunch of boxes and you have to set everything up. We talked about the backdrops. We have to move them to and from the art craft before and after every event. Sometimes we are very blessed and the art craft lets us keep them there for a little bit and then we can move them later. But also every book I think about before Kara started, because that's also been a blessing, and I'll let Kara talk about that. Before Kara started, I was moving all the books myself. And like I said, I started that week before Carly Fortune, Frederick Bachman, Lucy Foley. Carly Fortune and Frederick Bachman were back to back at the art craft, and I moved
2,000
probably
at least
like
2,000 to 2,500 books just in that
by
week.
myself. Luckily Heather came and helped me move a couple rounds. And when I say move, for people to picture, we have 2 dollies. They are very small dollies, and they probably move probably a good like 300 to 400 pounds of books at any given time. And it took me 10 plus trips back and forth to move all of that stock. So that was a bulk of my job at the very beginning. And then I was also like communicating with publishing houses, and then I would fill in at the shop, and then I'd work the actual events. So I do a lot of like boots on the ground. I help run the signing line. I help assign roles for people who are coming in. If they request dinner, I'll go get them dinner, like the authors being they.
Emily has the most essential but the least romantic job in all of events. It's one of those things where people come and they're with their sister, their mom, their best friend, their whatever. They're friends that they met just because they started coming to book events, and now they meet up every time, and everyone's having a blast, and it's beautiful and it's sparkly, and the authors are funny, and you go home with a book and a picture and a memory, and it's so wonderful. And it only happened because someone labored to make it that way. And that is Emily's job. Emily is the laborer. She executes all of the physical details. Events don't happen if books don't show up. That's what we were missing. We had me who was doing all of the planning And then the execution was just kind of falling to whoever it landed on, and it wasn't working just because of the volume of events that we had scheduled. And so that transition has been so essential and so helpful.
It's not the glamorous part.
No, it's not. It's not the shiny, sparkly part, but it is the part. You don't get shiny sparkles unless this happens.
Yes. And I think I did that until summer camp. And then luckily Kara came.
I decided to one-up you and have my first week be our summer camp for grown-ups.
Our timing's so good. It is so good.
So I started during probably our busiest week for events, like of the whole year. Like every year it is our big week where we have back-to-back authors. I think we had 6 authors in 5 days this year, and that was my first week. So I had worked at the bookstore while I was in college, and then in 2022 I had graduated and I left, and I was doing just part-time events like when I could in between my actual job at the time. And then this summer Tiffany had reached out to me and asked me to come on full-time, and I said, well, sure. I had always loved working at Wild Geese, and at the time I was living in Noblesville, and I made the decision that working at Wild Geese was so important to me that I was willing to drive from Noblesville to Franklin every single day. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. When Tiffany approached me to come to the shop, my job was kind of up in the air, like of like what exactly I was going to be working on. I feel like it was in a period of growth. It's always a period of growth. But so it was still kind of just like working out what I would be doing. And we landed on the title of Reader Engagement Specialist. I help with events. I help Emily with the moving of books and supplies and all the components of and setup for an event. But then I also work with Tiffany in the shop and everyone on just like ways that we can elevate the experience of both the bookshop and the events. So I have done like the backdrops. I think I've done like little, like I made stickers for the Lord Gilmore event. I made a little goose cutout for some of our children's events. And then I do help Tiffany with some of the graphics and things that we've been posting on social media relating to just this and that every now and then. So I've been doing a lot of creative stuff as of late, just helping out that way. And I kind of help working with Emma, our inventory manager, on picking out things for the event. We brainstorm back and forth on what we think would be a good thing to be unique to each event and just things to make it special.
But that wasn't something that was happening before. And that's something that maybe like people who attend our events wouldn't notice as much as we notice, but it does enhance the experience. It makes it more intentional. It makes people feel seen, which is ultimately the goal of anything that we're doing. And I know I can trust you. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially in an event capacity, is it's important to have like a skill set like Kara's where you can like create something beautiful out of nothing. I do not have that skill set. That's super valuable to what we're doing. Or like Emily's skill set of just like getting stuff done is so important to her role, but just like in general. But at the end of the day, what's most important is being like, and when this task is on the list, I just trust it's going to be accomplished. Because with events, it's so all over the place. There's so many different areas that need your attention, both beforehand and in the moment. And that balance of, yes, I will do my job well and on time, and also the ability to pivot when something changes at the last minute. It's a really unique skill set.
I feel like our team's really good at supporting one another and celebrating all wins for everyone on staff, even if it is something like kind of small. Like I feel like we're all really good at acknowledging like you did a good job on X, Y, and Z. And I think that it's just very helpful, and it's motivating.
We just mentioned like wins, and we've been talking about how big of a year it's been for the events team. I think it'd be really fun to talk about some of our wins for both personal and professionally, like with the events and with the authors that we've gotten to work with. Loren, do you want to start off with some of yours?
Sure. Gosh. My favorite weeks, we've talked about this week a couple of times already, was the very first week of May of this year. We had Frederick Bachman, 600 people. Carly Fortune, 600 people. Lucy Foley was sold out at the Sycamore. 3 international authors that came all in the same week. It was crazy. It was so fun. That week in general, the fact that we even pulled it off was like a huge win. I also ended that week being featured on Frederick Bachman's Instagram page talking about squirrels, which was not my goal. But if anyone's been to Franklin, we have huge squirrels. It just, I don't know.
It just
it's always
is.
been that way. It just is. It is what it is. And apparently European squirrels, not quite so huge. And Frederick Bachman was astounded at the size of our squirrels. And I don't feel like he posted about it on his personal social media. International best-selling author Frederick Bachman posted about the size of our squirrels on his Instagram. And you can hear me in the background going like, yeah, I don't know what sort of teenage mutant ninja squirrel stuff we've got going on here, but they're all huge. And that was the day that I learned, don't talk while authors are filming.
Well, and Frederick was like self-exposed himself as not being very good with the social medias, and like that his like kids make fun of him for it. He had me film a bunch of his stuff for him, which I thought was like, that made me giggle. I filmed him going onto the stage and coming off the stage with his phone. Like,
yes, he handed you his phone.
My second week on the job, an international best-selling author, Frederick Bachman, handed me his phone and goes, "Can you film me for my social medias? My manager really wants better social media presence, and I can't film myself." And I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." And then I'm pretty sure I almost messed it up, and I almost spiraled. And when I told him I was spiraling because I thought I messed it up, he like was very sweet and put his hand on my shoulder and goes, "You couldn't have messed it up. You did great." And I was like, "Oh my God."
You did like 6
Frederick
times.
Bachman.
You were like, did you remember? Did I press record? I was like, I don't know.
Or like, did I talk during it? Because it's like him going out to like this huge crowd of people who loved him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it could be me being like, "Oh my gosh, my hands are shaking. I can't believe."
Yeah.
Just like narrating the moment.
Literally, I can't even count probably the number of authors who have videos on their phones of their beautiful book covers and me probably just jabbering away in the background. Yes, but only one of them has made it to social media. And of course, it was Frederick Bachman and me.
And it's still
talking
there.
about it's still there. If
you want to see
anyone
it
wants to look it up, it's me on his Instagram page. It's a filming of a squirrel outside of the Willard, which is a bar restaurant here in Franklin. One of the employees of the Willard hand feeds this squirrel every day, and he lives there. And he's now featured on the Instagram page of Mr. Bachman with my voice in the background.
Famous.
So,
I
famous.
fear.
a famous
Fame.
squirrel.
Your 15 minutes of fame. Is this how you expected it?
It's my 15 seconds of fame talking about squirrels. And you know what? I don't think there's anything more towny that have ever happened to me, so I'll take it. Yeah, that's certainly something that happened this year. Some of my other favorite moments. We had Renee Rosen this year. We host luncheons where you get to eat while you hear the author in conversation, or sometimes I'll do a presentation. And I always love when an author has a presentation where you leave and you feel like you've learned something, and it's so fun. And her book this year, it was a historical fiction inspired by the creation of Barbie. So it wasn't necessarily 100% accurate, but she took the story of how Barbie came to be, and it was really about the woman who created Barbie and started the Mattel toy company. And it was an incredible presentation. And then afterwards, she had this display of vintage Barbies, like historical Barbies, and kind of the stories that went behind them. Someone had, I don't think she personally did, someone had a Barbie made of her. And it had her same haircut and her same like hot pink pantsuit.
It was amazing.
It was incredible.
See, and that's just proof that the details matter.
Yes, they do. They absolutely do. It was just like a really wholesome luncheon morning that we spent together. And that's just one I remember of this year. I think because I knew it was going to be nice, but I didn't expect to enjoy myself that day as much as I did.
I absolutely loved working that event. It was just like an unspoken rule. Everybody showed up in their pink garb and Barbie shirts.
Yes.
The energy in that room was so perfect and just like girlhood.
Yes,
and just
everyone agreed. And that's part of the reason too our job is so fun, is because we never have to convince anyone to show up with energy. Like it is not our job to convince you to have a good time. The attendees to our events show up ready for a good time.
Yes.
Every single time.
And on theme.
Yes, they're always
even
on
if we
theme.
don't have a theme,
An unspoken
they have
yes.
collectively
Yes.
made a theme.
When we get the chance to lean into a theme, it's so fun because we know people are going to buy in 100%. Event coordinating was not a job that I knew I was going to be in. I used to be an elementary school teacher and I loved it. And I tell people the skill set between managing a second grade class and planning an event for adults is honestly not that different, which I didn't expect. But when I talk to other event coordinators for weddings or for, you know, these larger venues, they have this responsibility, like it's their job to make sure people are having a good time. And obviously we take that seriously, but most of the time we're just facilitating the good time. Like they bring the good time on their own, and we just get to hang out. I have this massive stack on my desk at home of friendship bracelets because there was that 6-month period where at every single romance event, strangers were just swapping friendship bracelets and giving them to us. And Lila Sage, at one of the times she's been to visit, she left with friendship bracelets up both her arms to her elbows. Like it just, we didn't tell them to do that. They just did. And so much of bookish event planning specifically is like that, where everyone just agrees to have a good time. And it just makes our job so enjoyable.
Yes, I agree.
One of the things we had talked about was how Emily and Kara are so good at executing an idea. And most of the time their crazy ideas are their own, and then they execute it perfectly. And I'm like, wow, what a great idea. Right before Trope Retreat, we were hosting BK Borison. This was the second time she had been here. We had her in February, and she was coming back for her Good Spirits tour. And brief premise of Good Spirits, it's a super sweet paranormal romance where the male main character is a ghost of Christmas past. And I decided, for no reason other than it popped into my brain, that we needed a foam cutout of a ghost with a mustache to have as a picture prop. We don't usually have picture props. That's not like a standard thing. I just, decided it was necessary, but I don't have the skills to actually execute that. So poor Emily and Kara had to execute my insane vision. And the whole time I was like, I feel so bad making them do this. It was like the day of the event.
Yes.
Where we were like, hey.
It sure was.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I need you to turn this foam into a ghost. Day of event. Like they have nothing else going on in their lives. But BK loved it, and she brought him on stage with her, and they posed with him in the pictures, and they like filmed funny TikToks with him. And it was one of those moments where I was like, see, we can do this. But I just was like, what is wrong with me that I'm like, and now we need foam ghosts? But then they loved it, and they fully bought in.
It always pays off.
It always pays off.
And in the grand scheme of like crazy ideas,
yes,
that one was very doable.
Certainly not the craziest we've ever had.
No, that one was very doable. And they made really fun TikToks at the Art Craft Theater with Nolan the ghost. And I put a little scarf on him that was made out of wrapping paper. And we had a Harriet ghost as well that
even
they posed with.
She wasn't a ghost, but I felt bad not representing her.
Well, it would have been weird to have like a human cutout.
A foam cutout of a woman.
Cutout of a woman.
I don't think I would have been able to do that one as well.
No.
And then we made a TikTok. Kara had the idea for the TikTok, and then Emma, our bookseller and inventory manager, she helped me make this TikTok because I am bad at making TikToks. And we got it in one shot. Like, we
miracle.
did it truly, because like we had to take like 4 different frames, and the sound was important to it. BK Borison reposted it, highlight of my year. I was like, my personal friend BK Borison.
I was off on the day you guys posted it, and I texted you and I said, hey, BK Borison just posted your TikTok. I don't know if you saw this yet, but you need to log in.
All because of that silly foam ghost.
And I would not shut up about it. I talked about it all the time. I still talk about it because I was thrilled that she liked it because it was hers.
And it was so fun. But it was just one of those moments where I saw her posting with our little foam ghost in it, and I thought, is this my life? Like, this is my job. Okay. Yes, that was a highlight for me. It was clearly a highlight for you. What highlights did you guys have from this year?
You alluded to this earlier, but I had this crazy idea, and I said, what if we did a Halloween weekend that was like summer camp, and fully expecting it to be like that'd be kind of fun and kind of cool. And then Loren was like, yeah. And we're doing it right now.
Listen, don't tease me with a good idea. Things must be executed.
It ebbed and flowed through different things. And
yeah.
we had a plan A, which didn't work out, and that's fine. And then our plan B ended up working out really great. We had BK Borison, Lila Sage, and Jessica Joyce come and kick it off for us, which was a happy accident that they just happened to be that weekend.
Yes.
But it was perfect because she was a paranormal romance. And then we did the murder mystery like we have the past couple years. I was very thankful that I actually got to write the murder mystery this year. That was really fun.
It was so fun.
I enjoyed that. And then we did the writing contest, which was my biggest part of the weekend that I did it like all by myself. Kind of. Kara helped me a lot with the submissions because we both were in the literary journal at our college. And so we were both familiar with how it worked. I was fully expecting no one to submit. And I was very nervous about it. And I was like, this is going to flop.
It was so
And we
great.
had over 20 submissions.
So huge thank you if you submitted to our first writing contest.
Thank you for letting my dream be a reality, because it was like I was fully expecting for it to not blow up as much as it did.
Anytime we're doing something new, it feels like a risk. And anytime we're doing something that's not specifically tied to an author, that's like fully just us.
Very community based.
Yes, very community based. And it's a higher risk. You don't know how people are going to receive it, but then the reward is so fulfilling. And that was such a good night.
I do. I think that event was probably one of my favorite of the years because we had someone as young as 14 submit and we had someone as old as I think like 55. And so it was the entire community. And then I got the submissions, we had our winners, and then I was like, oh my gosh, no one's going to buy tickets to this. It is a hit or miss thing.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Franklin's always super community oriented and we had that going for us. It actually sold out and we had a wait list, which is bonkers to me.
I told you, girl.
And it was so fun. We set up the stage. We worked with Coffee House 5, who did a special brownie and a special drink for us. The writers were all very pleased and very happy, and watching them win their prizes and hearing their work in a live audience was so great. And I really appreciate Emma and Nathan and Loren, who helped read some of the submissions, and I read a submission because some of our authors weren't comfortable reading in public yet, which is totally fine.
And our very own Lindsay had 2 short stories that she read. Lindsay is a bookseller who's also a published author, and she excels in the spooky. So it was perfect for her.
It was such a fun night. And it was a night of like community, and it was a night of being together. And we had community partner that we worked with. We had community members who were a part of the actual event, but also like community members who showed up. It was a good time. It was so fun. That was probably like one of my favorite events. And then we closed the weekend with something that we have never done before too. Big weekend.
The whole weekend was like brand new. Everything
All
we
new
did
stuff.
in some capacity, even if we'd done it before, we did something new.
Yeah, because we did a paranormal romance panel. We had Mallory Marlowe there, Alexandria Bellafleur, and Jenna Levine, of course. And they all came with their books and talked about like what it means to be a paranormal romance writer. And I didn't realize how different that genre is from regular romance. It was so fun.
And even within the genre of paranormal romance, those 3 authors represented such completely different types of books.
Something that's always fun to me is when there's multiple authors involved and they all become such good friends. Now, like BK, Lila, and Jessica, they were all friends before.
Right.
Like they were actually having a slumber party afterwards, which I think is so fun. But like the paranormal romance panel, they all came separate from each other.
Because we asked them to.
And they were talking and like swapping numbers.
It was so sweet because they like all brought each other's books for like one another to sign. That just like that experience, like in seeing that, I was just like, oh, that's so sweet.
I usually am pretty good at being like, and you're a human doing your job and I'm a human doing my job. I don't usually fangirl. Obviously there are exceptions, but they do fangirl about each other, even though they know 100% exactly what goes into that job. And it's very wholesome. The tea is, yes, they're that funny. The tea is, yes, they're that nice. Carly Fortune, at her event with us this year, doing an international tour, a woman went up to her and talked about how she's writing a book and how she's really hoping to be successful one day. And then also offhandedly complimented Carly's shoes, which were these fabulous, like gold wedge huge platforms, heels. Important detail that everyone needs to know. And Carly Fortune took her shoes off of her feet, handed them to this woman, and said, "You wear these when you do your first book tour." It was incredible. That is a genuine thing that she did as the person that she is, but it really happened. We get to witness the reality of these authors.
Speaking of fangirling, I fangirl about getting any author just because
I'm excited
what a privilege.
every time.
Yes, like what a privilege that someone who is so talented wants to share their time with us. However, high school Emily was the biggest Divergent fan known to mankind. Like, I was going to get the 3-bird tattoo. My mom did not let me. I still would.
I was gonna say you still.
I still would.
It's not over.
It's not too late.
I
girl.
remember sitting on the porch during a staff meeting, and I could hear Loren and Tiffany talking, and they were like, pss, 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 and then they were like, Veronica Roth, and I went, hold on. I said, and what about Veronica Roth? And Lauren's like, oh, she's coming. Oh, okay. So like we got to host Veronica Roth, and like what a big deal. What a huge deal that was for me, but like also for like people who came to that event were like starstruck.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she came and I shook her hand, hi, I'm Loren, and I was like, what is this feeling in my chest? Oh, I'm freaking out. Like, she wrote Divergent. She's also written many other things, but all of a sudden I was 16 and she wrote Divergent. And then later we're just chit-chatting, normal thing. And she just offhandedly is like, have you ever been starstruck by any of the authors that came? And I'm like, well, not to be awkward, but just you. She was so very kind and understanding about it. But that one was huge. I feel like in general, but specifically for our staff, like there were so many people on our staff that grew up with Divergent being a huge part of their reading identity.
Why they love reading.
And there was that huge era of YA dystopian. It was just like a golden time.
Yes.
To be able to meet and host someone who like had such an essential part in that was so fun. That one, for our staff especially, I think that was a highlight for this year.
I got to tell Veronica Roth about the explosive argument I had with my mother when I was in middle school about having a Divergent tote bag as my book bag. And she was on my mom's side, which was really unfortunate for me. She was like, I'm sure that was not good for your back. I'm like, girl, I don't care.
No.
This was huge.
It's an aesthetic.
It's
a lifestyle.
Meeting Veronica Roth, I'm glad that I met her as an adult and not when I was 12.
That is so real.
1,000%.
But if you would have told Kara when she was 12 that she would be meeting Veronica Roth, I would have never believed you. And it was a huge day for me. Huge if true.
Yes. She was so nice. And she loved Franklin. Like she kept saying like, this is your own like Star Valley.
Yeah,
like,
Stars Hollow.
Stars Hollow. Sorry. I'm not on is that Gilmore Girls?
It is.
I am not on the Gilmore Girl grind. Hot take. Sorry, girl. She had said that and she was like, this town doesn't seem real. Like everyone's so lovely. And it's like, and she told me, she's like, I can tell that you guys aren't faking it. Like this is just your life. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, maybe I should move here.
And maybe you should, Veronica Roth.
She was wonderful. She was just brilliant. And she dropped the news that she was getting back into her dystopian grind. And she's releasing Seek the Traitor's Son in May. And I am so excited.
Visit us.
I know. I have the art. Because when she said that, I was like, I immediately went to NetGalley, and obviously it was not on there, but the second it dropped on NetGalley, I requested it.
Yep.
Kara, what are your highlights?
I feel like for me this year, one that immediately comes to mind is our event with Lori Gilmore. I just think the energy of that day was just so special. We went all in on that event.
We were clocked in.
Not even like just from our staff, but also like Lori's team was phenomenal. They gave us an inflatable gingerbread house to put up, and we got to keep it also, which is like really fun. But we had like gingerbread cookies, and there was like a gingerbread martini, and it was just Christmas in September.
Lori's team also understands a theme.
Yes. It's just the bookish people. I feel like they just understand the assignment every single time.
And those Dream Harbor books all lend themselves so well to a theme. I always appreciate it when the theme is just right there.
And I really think the Sycamore was perfect because like if you're going to have Christmas in September at a winery that kind of gives log cabin vibes.
Oh yeah, big
it was
lodge.
So good. And our friends at the Sycamore did the gingerbread martini.
Oh, yeah.
They are so wonderful.
They're exceptional.
And they gave us one to take pictures with. And Kara and I, that was one that we had like put a ton of work into because Lori's team wanted a theme, and Kara and I Fashion said, and why not? And continued to push and build a theme. And that's actually the event we got the stage for. Like that was the first time we've ever used the stage.
Yes.
It was a lot of new stuff.
Cookies.
Trust,
You guys
we were wearing
did.
Christmas sweaters in 80-degree weather.
It was hot, girl. It was hot.
Yes.
No, that one was really good. A lot of the fans there were very sweet and like very in it. They love Dream Harbor. They love Lori.
Her fan base was fabulous and just like very excited. And I think when you can feel the excitement of like an audience, like it just translates into the energy of the whole event, like coming from our team, coming from the author. Like I think if it's just, I don't know, there was just something in the room that day that was just so good. And I just have really fond memories of that event. Okay, pivoting.
Okay.
What do you expect for 2026 for Wild Geese Bookshop?
Here's some behind the scenes info. Every single time we have an event, regardless of the size, regardless of the genre, we always have people coming up to us and saying, you have to get so-and-so, you have to get so-and-so. We hear that every time, genuinely. When they put it in the feedback forms, who they want to come next, like we look at that and we retain that. And the way that works for us is about 6-ish months beforehand, we find out who's going to be touring. And we have the opportunity to pitch ourselves for one of their tour stops. So we have the opportunity to be like, we think that you would do well here. We already have a fan base here. And we have to say like, here's our idea. We think you could go to this venue. We think that this many people would come. We have to tell them how many books we think that they would sell. Anything extra that we would include that would make it an extra special event. And we have to sell ourselves to them and then hope that their team likes our ideas. And most of the time, the author does not see those pitches. It goes to their team. Their publicity team at their publisher handles all of that. There are so many different people that go into planning a tour. So we submit all of that and then we wait. If they're coming, we hear back. If they're not coming, we usually don't hear anything. We could hear back right away. We have people coming next summer. We heard back within a week. And then there will be people coming next July and we're not going to know until April. Like there's just a really wide a window of time when people can get back with us. That's how most of our events happen. Sometimes people will just reach out to us cold. And it wasn't that we pitched ourselves to them. They'll just reach out and be like, hey, we think so-and-so should come do an event. What do you think? And we say, sounds great. And we get them on the schedule. So when you really, really want someone to come, there's a really good chance that we've asked them to come. Anytime we get multiple customer requests for the same person, we try to get them to come. It's always our goal. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So you can expect many more announcements to be coming in the next couple of months. Spring will be springing for certain.
It'll be busy.
It'll be busy in the best sort of way. We are not allowed to share who is coming without the permission of their team. So I know who's coming. And Emily and Kara know who's coming, but we're not allowed to talk about it. It is part of our responsibility as hosts to hold that information until we're given permission to share it. The majority of the decisions about the tour and about the event come from the author's team. So they contact us and they say, here are the dates that we have available, which one works for you, and we reach out to venues and we match it up. So like if you're like, I would have rather this been on a Friday, girl, me too. So much of that is out of our hands. So much of that is us just facilitating what's been given to us. They will say, and it changes every single time per author. Sometimes they'll be like, we have 2 weeks wide open, what works best? Sometimes they have one day to offer us. Sometimes they say they don't want to take pictures this time around. Sometimes they do. And that's not something that we decide. Like we don't decide this author gets pictures and this author doesn't. That's something that's given to us. Same with the amount of books that they'll sign if they're doing photo only. Photo only has become more popular for large tours. And we, as the coordinators, I always respect it when someone wants to do photo only, because usually that means that they're able to do more stops. 600 people a night for 2 weeks is insane.
It's a lot of people.
And they're able to do that because they know that by doing photo only, they'll be in their bed by 11.
Yeah.
We have hosted signings until 2 a.m. That is a thing that has happened in the past. And
the authors are human. And they need to sleep and eat.
They absolutely do.
I think you mentioned it earlier. It's like protecting the author's piece is a big part of our job as host.
Huge part of our job.
That is respecting the publicists and the author's guidelines and boundaries of like what they will and will not do.
Yes.
And a big part of that is signing line.
All I can tell you for 2026 is we are booked and busy.
We're booked and busy.
We are 6 months ahead. We are actively thinking about June and July. We are actively planning summer camp, which
Is exciting.
it is exciting. I think it's looking to be really special this year, guys.
I think that's interesting for people to know, though. We've been talking about summer camp since October.
At least October. Yeah. Yes. We are always 6 months ahead. So
At least.
And it's a really fun part of the job. It's also the part of the job that's like the most up in the air. We just have no idea ever who's coming and who's not until we hear back. And please continue to tell us who you want to come because we will keep asking. Just because someone doesn't come for one tour, we will continue to ask them to come, especially if we are told, I really want this person. I really want this person. Don't not tell us because they live in Burma. International tours, they happen. We've got them on our schedule right now. And some of them, we were genuinely surprised that they were coming all this way. So like ask for your favorites and we will ask them to come. No promises other than we will do our best.
Your favorites are other people's favorites too.
Yeah.
So, and we'd love to hear it. They're probably some of our favorites.
Yeah.
And so it goes.
And it helps us to know like what the community is interested in and what people will buy tickets
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
What people want to read.
We need that
Yeah.
feedback to keep doing what we're doing.
Agreed. We have a great community of people who are very respectful at the events, and we typically never have any issues with signing protocol. We never have any issues with interactions with the author. We are very lucky. But we also have a very excited group of people that we want to know what you want because we want you to be happy, just like we want
absolutely.
to make these events for you guys.
Yeah. And our number one priority is always that the author feels respected and taken care of. And then our number two priority is that you guys have a good time and that you make memories. Making friends at events that you then hang out with afterwards has been such a cool thing to see this year. One of my favorite things I've seen this year is moms and daughters coming to YA events because they can both enjoy them together. That has been really, truly one of my favorite things is when we do a YA event that hits multiple age groups and it'll be like a 12-year-old's first ever author event. She's coming with her mom and there's just so much beautiful community that happens because of this job and it's thrilling to be a part of and it's really touching to just consider that we're even a small part of it. I'm really excited for 2026. As of right now, we are on pace to have more events in 2026 than we did in 2025.
One of my favorite comments we've ever gotten on a social media post, like a random one, was, why is XYZ author going to some random middle of nowhere in Indiana? And it's us. It's the Wild Geese Bookshop.
Us.
And I want to be that girl. I want to be the middle of nowhere Indiana Wild Geese Bookshop. The authors are coming here because our community is so welcoming and respectful and amazing and will always come out to have a good time.
And that's how it is. I mean, that's how it's been. And hopefully will continue to be. And it is because we are always looking to improve. It is because we are always growing. We're not getting stagnant. We're never settling. We're always trying to do better. We're always trying to nitpick. We do take feedback really seriously. If someone has a piece of feedback that we know we can implement to make an experience better, we will do it without hesitation. It's always so amazing to hear people say what an event means to them, what the experience means to them, to see people post on social media. That makes a huge difference to a small business when you give us that social media shout out and that reaches across platforms. It's crazy to think that all of this has happened in 1 year and now we're transitioning into a year that is looking to be even more booked and busy, but I don't know. I think this team can do it. I'm honored that so many authors and so many author teams trust us.
Yes.
That is ultimately the best part of this is that people keep coming because they trust us. And that's the biggest compliment I think that we could ever get.
The authors and their team trust us. The community members, we've heard multiple times, they trust us to host a good event. And that's what I want to bring into 2026 is that we continue to stay trusted and confident.
We will facilitate trust and be consistent and improve and hopefully have some really fun themes this year and like things we can really lean into in a way we haven't been able to do before, just because our team is bigger and we have the space to brainstorm in a way that we didn't have at the beginning of this year.
Sure.
And I'm really excited to see.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Me too.
Well, thank you so much, Loren, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we will see you all next time.
Bye.